her absence. Welcome everyone to RBKC's licensing subcommittee, which is being held via Microsoft Teams and is also being live streamed. Today we are considering objections from the police and environmental health to a proposed 10 for the front garden of 33 Cambridge Gardens, London, West 10 5UA. I am Councillor Marie-Therese Rossi and I will be chairing this meeting. I confirm I have no declarations to make in relation to this item. I am joined by Councillors Dorrie Schmetterling and Toby Benton. Councillors, can you please introduce yourselves and confirm whether or not you have any declarations to make? Thank you.
Well, I'm Dorrie Schmetterling, Councillor for Pembridge Ward. Actually not that far from the carnival events. And no declaration of interest to make.
Hello everyone, I'm Councillor Toby Benton, Councillor for Colville Ward, and I have no declarations.
Thank you. We are also joined by Laura McGowan, the councillors from the councillors licensing team, our legal officer Lindsay Le Mesurier, and our committee officers Nimka Mahudin and Daniela Heller and Toyin Shubawale. The election of a substitute chair. The quorum for this committee is 2, as there is always the possibility that I may lose connection temporarily during the broadcast. I am nominating Councillor Benton to be appointed as the substitute chair. Members, please confirm whether this nomination is seconded. Councillor Schmetterling?
I second that.
Thank you very much indeed. I confirm that Councillor Benton has been appointed substitute chair. Before we start the hearing, there are a few ground rules. Please keep your microphones on mute unless you're invited to speak. Please make sure your mobile phones are on silent, and please do not use the Microsoft Teams chat function as it is not monitored. Everyone should have received the procedure for this meeting regarding the use of cameras and how to connect back if you lose connection. Ms. Mahudin, can you please run through the list of persons wishing to speak today? Thank you.
We have Kieran McKenna from RBKC Noise and Nuisance, James Rankin, the Council for the Police, and PC Mark Perry.
Thank you. The procedure of the meeting has been circulated with the papers. However, in summary, I confirm. Firstly, the licensing officer, Ms. Gahan, will give a brief outline of the 10. I will then ask the police legal advisor, Mr. James Rankin, to present his objection. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. He is joined by PC Mark Perry, who may be able to assist the committee if they have any questions. Questions may then be asked by the police by the committee and our legal officer. Then I will ask the environmental health officer, Mr. McKenna, to present his objection. He will have up to 10 minutes to do so. Questions may then be asked of Mr. McKenna by the committee and our legal officer. Finally, I will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up, and the committee will then adjourn for approximately 10 minutes to make our decision. We will reconvene to verbally announce the decision today, and it will be then confirmed in writing within 5 working days. The full reasoned decision will be issued as soon as possible thereafter. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, which comprises the main pack and 2 additional submissions, which were missing, appendices E and F. So there is no need to repeat their content, but please do draw our attention to certain points and pages. Let's get going. Ms. McGahon, can you outline the 10 for us?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Before I begin my statement, I've got one correction to the committee bundle. On page 6, it states that the sale by retail of alcohol is for on the premises. This is a typo, and it should state off the premises. So we have before us today a temporary event notice, which has received objections from PC Jerry on behalf of the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of prevention of crime and disorder and public safety. An objection has also been received from Julian Trell from Environmental Health on the grounds of public safety. Miss Janet Nzugubo has submitted a temporary event notice for Sunday the 24th and Monday the 25th of August 2025 to use the front garden of 33 Cambridge Gardens, London W10 5UA, for sales of alcohol off the premises between 12 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 p.m. in the evening during the Notting Hill Carnival. A copy of this temporary event notice can be found at Appendix A of today's bundle. Summaries of the objections can be found on page 6 and 7 of today's bundle, and copies of both objections are attached as Appendix B and Appendix C. Relevant extracts from the Council Statement of Licensing Policy are attached as Appendix D. The premises are located in Golborne Ward on Cambridge Gardens, which is situated between Portobello Road and Ladbroke Grove. A map of the area is attached as Appendix E. A list of licensed premises within the vicinity are attached as Appendix F. A map of the 2024 Carnival footprint indicating the parade route, location of sound systems, bars, street trading sites, safe areas, and other matters is attached as Appendix G. For clarity, Chair, this map is for illustrative purposes only, as the map for 2025 is yet to be finalised. A list of temporary event notices received so far for this year's Carnival is attached as Appendix H. This list excludes notices that have been withdrawn or issued with a counter notice. Some of these notices may still be under consultation. In determining this matter, the committee must have regard to the objection notices from the police and environmental health and take such of the following steps as to consider necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The steps are A, issue a counter notice if it is considered necessary for the promotion of any of the licensing objectives to do so, or B, take no action and allow the notice to have effect. This concludes my summary of this afternoon's proceedings.
Thank you, Ms. McGahon. Thank you. So we will now go to the police objection. Mr. Rankin, please can you present your submission? You have up to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. The committee will have read the references to the press articles that have been submitted in this and other applications. And it's not hyperbole or exaggeration to say that Sir Mark Rowley, the Commissioner, has extreme concerns in relation to the Carnival, which he believes is poorly run. And there is a fear that there would be an incident which would generate mass casualties. Now, in the past, the police have had a permissive approach to applications for temporary events notices. We've rethought that this year, and we have applied greater scrutiny to the applications for temporary events notices. We don't object in every instance, but those that cause us concern, we do make representations, and number 33 Cambridge Gardens is a case in point. Now, a huge amount of planning goes into the creation of the Carnival, and Notting Hill Carnival Limited works really closely with the police for 363 days in the year to ensure that Carnival is safe for Carnival participants and goers. And every eventuality is covered off in a huge event management plan, which deals with all of the sound systems, all the locations for the provision of refreshment, and so on and so forth. What the event management plan does not take into account, because it cannot, is where these temporary events notices are going to be, who will apply for them, where they're going to be, and how many there are going to be. What the police do know is that the cumulative impact of these temporary events notices does little, if anything, to promote the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective. Now, when I say that we examine each application on its merits, we do precisely that. So there are, to date, 31 temporary events notices that have been applied for and granted, and to which the police made no representation. But Cambridge Gardens presents additional challenges for the police, particularly in circumstances where the applicant has not provided any risk assessment and has not provided any event management plan, contrary to the stipulations in your licensing policy. And Cambridge Gardens, you will know from your own experience of visiting Carnival, is heavily populated during Carnival. It sits midway between Ladbroke Grove, the Carnival route, and the Portobello Road. It becomes hugely congested. And what the police do not want is anything which impedes the flow of pedestrians up and down that road. The position is this, that if the flow of pedestrians is impeded, then pinch points are created. And if you have a pinch point, then you've got people who are susceptible to all of the carnival crimes that do take place. And the footprint for the carnival crimes is slap bang in the middle where Cambridge Gardens is situated. And these, I didn't need to itemize them, but the pickpockets, thefts, public order, sexual assaults, and so on. Now, when I say that Cambridge Gardens is a case in point, I know that Councillor Smettering sat on an application for a temporary events notice only recently on the 22nd of July this year for a temporary events notice in respect of number 30 Cambridge Gardens. And we asked you to issue a counter notice, and you did. And we concentrated on the difficulties that Cambridge Gardens presents for police in responding to incidents. And we indicated that, for example, at the far end of Cambridge Gardens, over to the east, I don't know if it's possible to bring up Appendix E. You'll see to the right-hand side of the plan, you'll see what appears to be, I described it as an amoeba, but it's a white multi-sided construction. That's Portobello Green, which is set apart from Cambridge Gardens. It's on Cambridge Gardens, but it is set apart. And that is run by the Westway Trust. They have a temporary events notice. They work closely with Notting Hill Carnival Limited, who work closely with the police. And we have determined that a temporary events notice can be granted in respect of that because it's set back, because it's cordoned off, because there's security, because they have an event management plan, because they have a risk assessment, and so on. So there it is. We say, please do not allow this application to go ahead, particularly in view of another aggravating feature, and that is two sound systems which are proximate to the application site. There's the Lord Jelly, which is just to the left of it, and then the other system, which is the system on Portobello Green. So there it is. I've got PC Perry who can help me on much of the detail, but unless I've got it very wrong, I was going to leave the police representation there.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Now we will go to questions from the committee. I'll just start off by asking you one, Mr. Rankin. The applicant isn't here today, but she might say, but this is just one little premise. What difference is that going to make in terms of crowd control and etc.? What would your answer be to that?
The answer would be this, that I can't say that one by itself would adversely impact upon the licensing objectives, but one in this location would, and that is a risk that we are not prepared to take. You'll remember that the DCMS guidance says that we are your primary source of intelligence in relation to crime and disorder. And it's worth referencing paragraph 25(11) of your statement of licensing policy, which says that the licensing authority will consider the importance, significance, and potential consequences of disregarding any evidence provided by the police or environmental health officers or other competent bodies when considering contested license applications and TANs. So we say that this is a risk that we are not prepared to take, and we would invite you to form the same conclusion.
Thank you. Councillor Benton, do you have any questions?
I do, just a couple, Chair, thank you. The first was just about the assertion that it's a heavily populated part. Now, obviously, it's kind of very near the main footprint, and you know there are things going around it. I mean, I just wonder what the basis of it being considered a pinch point is. Just because I suppose anecdotally I've not found it to be the case, even though there have been quite a few things on it, but I'd just be interested to know. And actually, while I might as well just say them both at the same time. And the other is about, and I do understand that as Mr. Rankin says, we're the police is taking a more aggressive, might be the wrong word, but a stronger position this year. What about the layout, for example, the sound systems and anything else? Is any of that actually different this year? Or is the layout changed? Are there, you know, is the sound system layout different? Anything like that? Be general questions, but.
PC Perry.
Thank you, James. So to take your first question, Councillor, and it is a good question. One can never predict with 100% accuracy how busy these areas are going to be. What we do know is, as James has said, is that because there are two sound systems operating in the area, and the one in the gardens, I believe, is new this year, they do attract thousands of people. And because it is a sort of a cut through between a very busy Portobello Road and the route of a carnival, it's why we are expected to be quite busy. That's why the sound systems are there, and that's why people are applying for temporary event notices, because they know they'll be able to sell their alcohol there and sell their wares there. And because it is going to be so busy, we're not saying that any of the operators or applicants are bad people. We're just saying that the risk of having people spilling into the street increases the sort of risk of not only crime disorder, but mostly public safety, sort of exponentially. It's almost like a sort of stream of people wandering down the streets, or thousands of people wandering down there. And if you have a queue of even 8 to 10, 12 people causing a little sort of speed bump, it can increase the risk of pinch points, people being tripped over, people bumping into each other. And we especially know at Carnival that can lead to all sorts of confrontation and sometimes violent. And so in this case, because we do perceive and we do believe, and it is a honest held belief that it's going to be busy, we've objected to all the TENs along this route unless they are able to serve the customers inside their premises and not generate a queue. And with regard to the sound systems and their positioning, it does change somewhat each year, but I believe that most of the sound systems are roughly where they are last year with a little bit of tweaking. But certainly based on our analysis and our expectations is that this is going to be a very busy route.
Thank you. If I can just follow up, Chair, with thank you. It's just actually to sort of bring my concerns into one really question, which is two-part question. Do you have with you actually did answer a little bit. So you're objecting to all tents, that aren't indoors, that are in these sorts of. Is that along all the sort of connections between say the main route and Portobello, or and my question is, the question was going to be, if you're not, then what's the difference? What's the criteria that makes Cambridge Gardens more potentially dangerous than and another street the other side of off into sort of St Helens area?
It's a very good question, and it goes down to sort of flow dynamics of where people are going to go. It's an art and a science, and it's very much about anticipating where the crowds are going to be, and then putting in sufficient measures to make people safe. We can never or make people safer. We can never say the carnival is safe. What we can do is make it safer, and that's what we're doing this year. That's why the council have pulled out the stalls along the main carnival route, because from previous years, because they can see the risk of crime and disorder, and especially public safety. And while it's right, we do look at every tent on its merits. Certainly, a bigger risk factor for us is if they are selling onto the street where you can have that queue, because if people are operating in ideal conditions where people are sober, they come along, they pay the money, they walk away very quickly, there's no problems, then maybe it'd be okay. But we don't operate in ideal conditions. We have to take into fact the possibility that people may well have consumed alcohol or drugs prior to purchasing more alcohol. We have to take into consideration that there may be altercations as people get bumped into each other, and the trouble is that then leads to disorder and violence. So we have to take a look at it in the round, as it were, and say, well, what is the overall risk level? And on these really busy streets that we've identified, unless they're able to have the queues inside, so they're not adding to the risk of congestion and public order and public safety, then we do seriously consider objecting. And in the case of all the tens on Cambridge Heath, on Cambridge Gardens, that's what we've done. The ones where we have agreed tens, which is just further up, is where they've actually taken the customers inside the premises. So they've removed that risk. So it's not a carte blanche, everything gets objected to. It's very much what is the risk? How can that risk be mitigated and managed? And if they can't, then we have to object.
Right. Well, thank you very much. That's answered my question.
Councillor Schmetterling.
Thank you. Mr. Rankin, I think the first question is the one we're all asking. On page 6, there's a reference to Mr. Millet of the pack of the report, and which is it's a summary of the police objection. So it could be either a transcription error or from licensing, or from your end. You don't know anything about that, presumably.
I'm looking at page 6, and what part of it is the concern?
The last line of page 6. But maybe that's not from...
I see. Yes, that must be an error, because the applicant is Janet.
Is not called Millet. Yes. Nor is the person who signed the notice, or noticed the form to issue. Noticed the form to issue the notice. It is not called Millet. It's the operator herself. Yes. Okay. I'll just make a note. Error. I'm just interested in the crowd estimate of 2 million. It's a number I have seen occasionally, although I've seen numbers much lower. So personally, if somebody asks me, I always tend to say 1 million. I'm just curious what the basis for the police estimate of 2 million is. I mean, how do you get there over the weekend?
I think the figure is it's very much a question of how many angels can you have dancing on a pinhead. It depends on what you count as the area of the carnival, and whether you count the 2 days and where you start and finish. That's generally the accepted figure that we've been using, and certainly that's based on our evidence. But I'm not going to sort of say that is the only figure out there, but that's a figure we base our calculations and assumptions on.
Right. Okay, I'm just curious. This is just an interest for information. Next is that you mentioned the Portobello Green area. Do you say this is new? This is on page 24, which is part of your formal submission, I think. Yes.
Yeah. This is
for the first time this year. On the bottom of page 24 of the report pack, it says this year will also have a sound system, etc. Is that new this year then?
Yes, that is new this year.
Okay, so that is important added factor.
Yes.
Which, okay.
You're right, Councillor, it is. And obviously, as I was saying earlier on, is that sometimes, the systems do change, and what's new was the sound system at the bottom this year. So it is another X factor or unknown factor that we have to sort of take into consideration.
Okay. All right. I think that covers my questions. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Schmetterling. Are there any questions from our legal officer?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a couple. I think it's referenced in the environmental health objection that there was a 10 at this premises last year. Can you confirm whether this was the case or not? It might not be you who knows that.
PC Perry, are you able to help? What was there a 10 here last year?
If you bear with me 2 seconds, I will go onto our system and check.
Whilst PC Perry is doing that, certainly there are applications, and the one that you're about to entertain in respect of Lancaster Road, they had temporary events notices historically, and it may be that is the case. But we're looking at this application as of today's date, and we are not concerned with historically what they had. We're concerned with risk management for the carnival that will take place in 2025.
Thank you. And I just want to just confirm that.
I can confirm that there was a late temporary event notice last year. And just to echo what James has said, is that we are trying to improve the carnival safety this year, and also past success is no guarantee of future success. And I think because, again, there's no risk assessment coming, it does add to our concerns.
Thank you. And just another question. It's not absolutely clear, and you may not know the answer to this. Is the premises user proposing to sell over the garden wall, or do you know if people are meant to be coming into her front garden to purchase the alcohol and then consume it once they're off the premises? Or I can't tell from the application. I don't know if you know.
If nobody knows, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the premise. I mean, I've been there in Carnival, and it is sort of through the gate and to the side, and that's historically how they've done it. Sorry to interrupt, Chair. I didn't.
It's fine.
I just thought I might know.
No, from looking at the application, it's silent on that, because there's no risk assessment or sort of or plan. It's difficult to say, but it is. They have ticked the off sales, so one would assume that, as the councillor has said, it's going to be a case of passing it through the fence, as it were, as opposed to having people inside.
Yeah, I was just looking at the. I think she sent an email on page 38. She just said, "I will be selling the punch only in the front garden. Customers consume off the premises." So it wasn't entirely clear. And I think just one last thing. I think in other hearings, there's no street trading licence permissions this year for these kind of events. I think I'd just like you to confirm that as well, please.
That would be so.
Yep.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Chair, could I just, if
You okay?
legal officers, if has finished, could I just ask a question of the police?
Okay, go ahead, Dory.
Thanks. Particularly PC Jerry this is on page. Hang on, sorry, I'm on page 7, which is a summary of the police. I've got to check the original. It says the application increases the risk, and then it says granting this 10. But this is not an application. This is a notice has been issued. Sorry, I'm being a bit geeky about this, but we're not discussing applications. We're discussing licensing application. We're discussing whether we allow a notice or disallow or issue a counter notice. So I'm just wondering why, there's terminology. Just comment about the terminology here.
It's a mistake which is often made, and you're quite right to pick it up. However one terms it, the applicant, Louise Gubo, has filled in a form and has given notice that she intends to have a temporary events notice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, to issue a notice. And the notice has been issued. So we have to now decide whether we allow it or oppose it.
Right.
Okay, so moving on.
Thank you.
We will go to the environmental health subjections. Mr. McKenna, please can you outline your case? You have about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, subcommittee members. As mentioned, Mr. Julian Trill has submitted the representation for the objection for this 10, and I'm here today to present the arguments. We are objecting to this 10 as we believe this would not promote the public safety licensing objective. The Metropolitan Police have gone through the arguments and the issues, and I would support these that have been mentioned so far. For public safety, this 10 is in a very busy area of the carnival. It is very close to the Lord Gelly sound system and the licensed bars and Ladbroke Grove, and you've got the parade route. And then it's also very busy at Portobello Road, not only with Portobello Green this year, but also you have the traders on Acklam as well, and you've got the bridge. That is a very busy area just at the top of that street. We do look at each 10 on its merits, and we are doing this on a case-by-case basis. And we are also considering the wider context across the carnival footprint with regard to public safety. As we've mentioned, there is the lack of a specific plan, event management plan and risk assessments with this application. So it's very difficult for us to determine how the site will be operated and how it will be managed and how this impacts on the public safety. We as the council have also taken other steps to try and improve the safety for the public this year, like removing the other street traders from the parade route. So not allowing this 10, in our view, would feed into this wider drive to improve safety and to promote the licensing objective of public safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Councillor Benton?
None, thank you, Chair. Nothing that hasn't been covered.
Okay, Councillor Schmetterling?
No, same comment. I just have a question for Ms. McGahn, but that's probably not the right moment.
Okay, maybe we will take that at the end. Are there any questions from the legal officer?
No questions from me, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Schmetterling, ask your question now of Ms. McGohan, and then we'll go to the end of the meeting.
All right, thank you. In the intro, you said about it should be maybe this is what I misunderstood. It says clarification. It says here that she's asking the Miss Nui-Zugbo is asking for off sales. It says so on page 6. It does say that. So what was your correction?
I think, let me just take you back.
Perhaps you've got a later version of the report.
No, it is on page 6. So if you see where it says temporary event relevant licensable activities in bold, under there it says on.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Above it does say off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll change that
just
to
one.
off. Okay.
Yeah, super. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
for clarifying that. So, our legal officer, Lindsay, do you have any other questions, queries that you might have, or comments you might like to make?
No, not at this stage, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Do our licensing officers have anything to add?
Nothing from me. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Governance officers?
Nothing from us. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So we have reached the end of the meeting. The committee now has all the information needed, and we will retire to make our decision in private session. We will reconvene this meeting in 10 minutes, and a summary determination will be sent within 5 working days. Okay, so if we leave the meeting now, and we will all come back in, go into private session, we'll come back to deliver our decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Governance, is everyone here?
Yes, they are, Chair.
Okay. So I am reconvening the meeting. This is for a temporary event notice, Front Garden, 33 Cambridge Garden, London, West 10. The committee has considered objections from the police and environmental health to a temporary event notice which has been given by Miss Janet Nguzbo, the premises user, for the sale by retail of alcohol of the premises at the above premises on Sunday the 24th of August and Monday the 25th of August 2025 between the hours of 12 noon and 7 p.m. the event for a maximum number of 8 people at any one time. The committee has considered the committee papers and the submissions made by the parties both orally and in writing. In reaching its decision, the committee has had regard to the relevant legislation, the Secretary of State's guidance, and the authority's statement of licensing policy. In summary, the committee decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of the case and the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 for the event. This notice means permission for the licensable activities requested in the 10 have not been approved. The committee decided that allowing the 10 would in this instance undermine the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, and it determined to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003. A copy of the reasoned decision will be provided without undue delay. If the premises user would like to appeal against the decision, such an appeal must be made to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of the notification of the full decision, but in any event, no later than 5 working days before the start of the proposed temporary event. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.